Hi everyone, it's Becky here. So last Sunday, January the 9th, I sketched some kitchen items during a live session on Zoom with about 18 participants. So after the live session, I still had two little bits of space on my art journal page spread to fill, so I decided to sketch the evening sky. So this is the look of my art journal spread after the live session. And I'm going to sketch the sunset view outside my reading room window right here. Okay, and the rest of the video is going to be in real-time speed. So this is a pretty nice continuation of the live session. So before I start putting the ink pen on paper, I kind of visualize the size and placement and how much I want to include of the scenery. And now I'm taking my time to draw this little frame. I think I want to extend it all the way. I want the bottom to overlap with the jug there. So it looks like there's more depth of field on this art journal spread. It's very natural to have a bit of overlapping instead of separating every single item and scenery. Okay, and taking a little bit of time to visualize before I begin. Now I'm starting to draw the triangular form of the rooftop on the opposite side of the street, the arc shape. This rooftop is made of many little triangular shapes. So when sketching, it's very important to see and divide the large shapes and forms into smaller ones, just to make the drawing process easier. And below the rooftops, there are a lot of square and rectangle shapes. And within those shapes, we have window shapes. And now I am filling in the glasses of the windows with solid black. Because during daytime, a lot of windows are looking very dark. So a lot of times I like to shape the glasses of the windows with solid black, just so the house looks like it has more density. And I also think that the windows of the houses are like their eyes. It's a very important quality of a house. Just finishing drawing the house, and another little window there. And just a little pipe or chimney. Now I'm starting to draw the trees, just a row of forest behind this house here. So I'm looking at the most important objects in this scenery, the rooftops, the forest. I think that's pretty much it. I don't care about the other little details. I just want the essentials. Now I'm just drawing this house under construction on the side on the right. Okay, and that's it, with just a few simple lines. There's another little house behind this one in the foreground, and there's a pole. Connecting the pole with another house in the middle ground. The balcony there, the staircase, and this house in the middle ground is being covered by this house in the foreground. Drawing the chimney is a tiny little prism, and the arc, little window here, a little bit 3-dimension for the rooftop. All right. Just adding very little bit of smaller details inside the outlines of these houses, and I think I'm good. Now I'm continuing to draw the forest with very loose little lines. So when drawing organic things like forest and other plants, mountains, I like to use loose lines like these because those things are organic. And they're very unstable. Organic things are very unstable. They change from day to day. And using loose lines to sketch them just give them more of a liveliness. Just a few more details around the skyline. Just a tree here with bare branches. And I think that's it for the drawing part. Okay, so now I'm ready to paint watercolors. So as always, I like to paint the sky first. So as you can see, I'm wetting the sky area with clear water by squeezing my large Holbein water brush with a large round tip. Wet on wet, some medium yellow for the stripes of clouds that I see in the middle part of the sky closer to the horizon, and wet on wet, some magenta pink. Just let these two colors blend together naturally without over stirring. Ultramarine blue, I think this is cerulean blue. Cerulean blue also means sky blue. Just dilute it a little bit because I don't want the sky to be way too dense. The sky should always be more transparent, clear, fresh compared to the solid things like the architectures. And I think that's it for the sky. Just let it go, those colors blend together, nice and soft. Now I just wetted the house areas with clear water so the paint colors can spread out easily. Putting on a bit of yellow ochre. Nice and warm. So I like to use very similar colors because the less colors that we use in a painting, the more harmony it has. But when we're using the same colors, it's pretty important to use different tones of that color because different tones create contrast. For example, yellow has many tones, right? So you use a lighter yellow tone for parts of an object that is yellow under direct light, and you use a darker yellow tone for parts of that same object in shade. So now I'm painting these rooftops with a mix of black with brown. I very rarely use black, but sometimes I break the rule by using it because I want to make the rooftops very dark. The dark rooftops are having a better contrast with the colorful sunset sky behind. So that's why I made this decision. And keep filling in the rest of the rooftops and the outside of those houses. They look very abstract because most of their parts are being cropped off by the frame. And now I am painting the forest behind with viridian green mixed with a bit of yellow ochre. Just paint it very loosely. So now I'm using my Sakura water brush with a medium tip. The smaller tip just allows me to paint those smaller areas more easily. Add another layer of darker tone of green by mixing in brown or burnt sienna into viridian green. And also a little bit of ultramarine blue to make the tone of the green even stronger. keep adding that. I really want these forests to have a dense look because I want them to have a strong contrast with the sky behind. And also in the evening time, the forest and other large objects, they look like silhouettes under the almost dark evening sky. So now I just mix some leftover blue and a little bit black into the yellow to get a darker yellow tone. As I mentioned before, we don't have to use that many colors, but we can use the same color by changing its tones. And just a little bit more polish, adding tiny bits of ultramarine blue around the horizon. I'm leaving bits of white for the rooftops because there's some snow there, not completely melted. Darker tone of brown there. Just last bit of polish. Shade for the exterior of the house using leftover blue, and I think that's it. And here's the look of my art journal spread. Now I'm going to move on to fill the space on the upper left hand corner. So the day is getting darker now, and I just move on to the other room in my house, and I decided to sketch this golden view. And so I decided to draw a frame again, just to keep everything nice and neat inside. Because this is already a pretty busy page. And again, there's a bit of overlapping with the top of the pasta bag coming in from the bottom right, and that's okay. It's good to have a bit of overlapping sometimes on the art journal page design. Okay, taking some seconds to visualize the size, proportion, and placement. So I'm drawing the chimney and the rooftops pretty low inside the picture frame because I want to include a large area of the sky. This is a pretty important decision. So if you're sketching a landscape and you really want to include a large area of sky, then you have to draw the objects below pretty low in the composition, like what I'm doing right now. So yeah, so before you start sketching, be pretty clear about your purpose. So these rooftops contains a lot of triangular shapes and forms. So just adding those details as I observe, and those chimneys are little prism shapes. So again, the idea of dividing large shapes into smaller ones. And now just adding these window structures below the rooftops. And again, darken some of the window areas because I want the houses to have more density. These two houses are joined together. So these are townhouses or duplex houses, pretty common in Canada, in North America. These are like twins. They look the same, joined together. And keep adding more house structures. Like repetition. Repetition in a piece of artwork is pretty important because it adds a sense of harmony. Yeah, just taking my time to fill those windows with solid black. A little bit more rooftop details, and I'm gonna draw the evergreen trees behind. Here's one. Another one showing just a bit of the tip. And a couple more here. Another 2 or 3 here behind. Yeah, and that's it for the drawing part. Okay, so now I'm ready to paint watercolors again. Sky first, as always. Just wetting the sky with clear water by squeezing my water brush. And just grabbing some medium yellow mixed with a little bit orange. This is the color that I see, that I feel of the stripes of clouds. And they're not in horizontal lines. They're kind of rising up a little bit. And also mix in more or less water to control the intensity of this yellow-orange color. It's a pretty important technique when painting sky, that you can control the density of the same color by mixing in more or less water. And just wet on wet, some cerulean blue in between the yellow stripes. Painting very loosely and not over stirring the yellow and blue, because yeah, just let it go. It's not going to be exactly the same as the real sky out there. I think I captured the theme of the sky pretty well, the spirit of it. And around the bottom, just a bit of orange there. This is a pretty intense orange with less water mixed in. Okay, and I'm done with the sky now. Just letting go of the sky, it's blending instead of, giving it too much control. Now I'm ready to paint the dark shapes of the rooftops. So I just mix ultramarine blue into burnt sienna to darken the brown color. I think I also mix in a little bit of black just to make that brown even darker. And also the same color combination for the trees is viridian green mixed with yellow ochre. And these houses have a kind of like a yellow-green color, but now since it's sunset time, the tone is much more muted, almost a gray color. So I just used the leftover color in my watercolor palette. And now I want to add a more solid and stronger dark tone for the houses below the sky, because I see it needs more contrast in this image to make the sky stand out better. So much less water now mixing into the paint. So I mix ultramarine blue with burnt sienna. Lots of ultramarine blue to make the burnt sienna or brown color very dark and solid. Okay, there we go. And a little bit shade for the chimneys, for the side of these houses, just to give them, suggest a little bit 3-dimension for them. Right. And I think that's it for the painting part. Tiny little bit of details here and there. That's it. And here's the look of my finished art journal spread. It looks much more exciting than before with the 2 sunset sky sketches, and I really like it. And just a reminder that the registration for the Sunday sketch together is still open, so I decreased the price because now there are only 3 sessions left. So the link is on the upper right hand corner, or you can also click the link in the description below to sign up. Okay, see you next time. Have a great weekend.